having a new colleague join your team can be really exciting. You spent a long time advertising and recruiting for this new role that's going to allow your business to work more efficiently and effectively. But in order to allow your new hire to feel comfortable, welcomed, and ready to be able to do their job to the best of their ability, having an established and common onboarding process can make that really seamless. Hi, I'm Kevin from Budibase, and I'd like to show you how you can use Budibase to build an onboarding application for your new employees. First, let's think about the process that we want to encapsulate. We're going to have a HR manager fill in a form. That form, once created, will email the manager and the IT support. The manager will be asked to assign a buddy. Once that's been done, the buddy will be emailed to say, hey, you've got this coming up. This is the responsibilities of a buddy. The IT team will be asked to sort out the accounts and the email address and add the email address back into our application. Then the week before our employee starts, we'll all receive emails to say, this person's starting next week. Have you done all the tasks? Is everything ready? We'll also use our application to allow new hires to be able to read through that essential documentation, making sure that they've got their health and safety, their contract, and any other important documentation that's required for your team to know. That's what we're building. Let's dive in. Everything with Budibase will start on the Budibase portal. So we'll log in, we'll get our list of our applications that we already have, and then we'll create a new application at the top here. We get an option to be able to use one of the pre-existing templates that's been created. We can import an application that we already have, or we can start from scratch. I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to call this onboarding. I'm going to create my application. At Budibase, we want to help your data to be transformed into action, wherever it is. So, if you have a collection of REST API endpoints, a relational database or a non-relational one, or even a spreadsheet application, we want to help to get your data from there to here. I'm going to use a PostgreSQL database, which my host string is host.docker.internal. The database I'm using is just called Onboarding. My user is Kevin, and my password. I'll scroll down and press connect. And I get a list of all the tables that exist already, and I can fetch them. I only have one table, which is my new hire, so I'll click Fetch Tables and bring that over. So now that we've fetched our new hire table, we can check by clicking into the left-hand side here, the current schema, so we can see each of the columns here that are existing on our database, and the current data. So there's one data entry here. We can add more directly in this view. And as we add more in here, so maybe this is Jane Morgan. As we add more in here, then when we check the data, it's there as well. So one of the benefits of using Budibase on top of an existing data source is that you can have multiple applications sharing that same data. So this is where our data is going to exist. The next tab is the design tab, where we can start to design a user experience. Now, the first thing we'll need to do is design the data collection sheet so that our HR team can input the data of our new hire. So I'll click on design, and since this is my first screen, I'll click on blank screen and I'll call this create and continue. I then have the option to set the role-based access control. Public means that people don't need to log in at all. Basic means they need to be logged in users of our application, where power and admin are elevated roles within our application. I'll leave it at basic and click done. And I get this screen, and this screen is made up of components, so I can add components into this screen. So I'll click on this plus, and I'm going to add a form block. And here is the form block, and I'll call this my create new hire block. Create the data, and then enter new hire details, or a heading here. So as I look at these fields, I think, some of them aren't in the right order. Some of them don't have spaces and things in there. So what I can do is I scroll down on the right-hand side, I can reorder them. So I'll bring name up to the top, start date, email, seems good, manager, HR lead. Now what I might just do is put a space in there. That won't change the database, but it will change how it looks in my UI, which is what I want. I don't need this updated documents. I won't have this document read complete in this initial table, and I'll just put the space in IT lead here as well. Start date probably needs a space as well. And I'm going to change the size to large so it looks a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks a little bit tidier already. I like that a lot. So if I want to now, I can go to preview. So my new hire name, I'll set to be Emma Johnson. The start date, I'll set to be maybe October 23rd. I won't set the email. This is going to be my internal email, and I want my IT team to create that and then add it to this form. Manager, I'll set that to be manager@budibase.com. HR lead, I'll set to be HR@budibase.com. And everything else, I'll just leave blank for now. I'll press save. Row has been saved. And if I go back to my data, we can see Jane Morgan has indeed appeared over here. So what I want to happen is when that record gets created, I want to email two people. I want to email the IT lead and I want to email the manager and tell them, could you go and do some work? So those emails are required. So I'll go back over to my form. I want some fields to be required. So I'll go to name, rule set, it's required, and I'll save. I'll go to manager, click on add rule, required, and then save, and IT lead. Add rule, required, and then save. So these fields are now required. They have to be there in order to save the forms. If I try to just save the form with those blank, I get a couple of required errors here. So those fields are definitely going to be there. I'm now going to create an automation. And in this automation, I'm going to call this new hire created automation. And it's going to happen when a row has been created. Specifically, a row in the new hire table. So a new hire has been added to the table. I want to send some email. So I have this action called send email. Now, if you haven't configured your email in the Budibase instance, then this will be ghosted out. I'll link to a video above where I show you how to set that up if you haven't already. I'll click on send email and click save. So I want to send an email to the manager. So I'll send to, so I'll hit my lightning bolt, the manager. So I've got two ways to get access to the manager. So I could do double curly braces, and then I want on the row dot manager, the email I want to send. And I'm going to send it from onboarding@budibase.com. The email subject is going to be, I'm going to use the binding and say row dot name has been hired. And now I'm going to add my HTML content. So I'll hit this lightning bolt and I get this large text box. Now it's important to note that this is HTML. So that means in order for it to take new lines, it doesn't cope with me just taking new lines. If I don't use tags like HTML, it will condense it all into just continuous text. So I'm going to use a paragraph tag for hi, and then I'll use another paragraph tag to say name, so row dot name has been hired, and you are their manager. Congrats. There are a few tasks that you'll need to do before they start. Here they are. Close the paragraph tag and then start an unordered list. So email the company to let them know. Schedule first day meetings. Line up the one-to-ones for the next few weeks. And assign a buddy who will look after the new hire in their first few weeks. Okay, let's close that unordered list. We'll say row dot HR lead is taking the lead in HR and would love to answer any questions you might have. Close the paragraph tag, last paragraph, thanks. Let's save that. So that's the email going out to the new manager. So we can finish and test that by choosing the table, new hire, and we'll want the manager's email. So I'm going to do test at, I'm going to use my email domain because it's got a catch all, so I can catch whatever I put in here. And what else? The name. So our new hire test, and our HR lead was also there. So John at budibase.com, say. So I'm going to click on test. So when I check my email, it's gone to the email. We've got our right heading. We have our email, got our list of things to do, and we're ready to go. Now the branding here is set to be Budibase. You can add your own custom branding on our business plan, and there are more details about that on our website. The other person I want to email is the IT team. So I can just add this plus, and I'm going to add another email, and I want to send that to our IT team. So we'll do lightning bolt. There's going to be trigger outputs from the first one, from the row, and it's going to be our IT lead. Like that. Send from onboarding at budibase.com. Email subject is going to be our row dot name account setup. And then again, we're doing HTML. Hi, new paragraph, row dot name has just been appointed. And will need to be set up on all of our systems. Could you make a start on that? If you need any specific guidance, we'll do row dot manager is their manager and would be happy to answer any questions. Close paragraph, last paragraph, and we'll say thanks. And then we'll save that. Finish and test the automation. So we're going to need an email for our IT now. So we'll do IT, kevincunningham.co.uk, and we will test. So we get the email to the manager being sent to test at kevincunningham.co.uk. Amazing. But we also get this being sent to IT at kevincunningham.co.uk. Brill. New hire has been appointed, will need setup. Could you make a start on that? And again, if you wanted to fix the formatting, it's just HTML, so you can add tags in to make it look better than I've done here. So in this process, we have someone filling in a form, and after they've filled in that form, those two emails are being sent out. One to the manager, reminding them of some of the tasks that need to happen, and one to the IT team. Everything's going well, and what I want to happen now is the week before, on the Friday before, I'd like to send out an email to the buddy, to the HR manager, to the IT lead, and to the manager to say, oh, don't forget, next week our new colleague's starting. Can you make sure you've done everything you need to do and reply all in this email if there's any problems? So how do we do that? Well, that's another automation. I'm going to add an automation and I'm going to say new start next week. And that's going to be a cron trigger. So sometime, because I want it to happen at 9 a.m. on a Friday morning. So every Friday morning, I want to see, is there anyone starting next week? And if there is someone starting next week, I want to send an email to those four people for that new hire so that we know what's going on. Now, I sometimes forget the cron syntax. It's 5 numbers and separated by a space, and you can put more in it. And I use a tool called Cron Tab Guru. So 5 stars means do this task every minute, but we don't want to do it every minute. We want to do it at 0 minutes past 9 a.m. So that will do it on every day at 9 a.m. But I don't want that. I just want it on a Friday. So the next star you can see is the numeric day of the month. So like the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So that's not what I care. I don't really care about that. I also don't care about the month, but I do care about the day of the week. So 0 Sunday all the way up to 6, which is Saturday. So we want Friday, so that's going to be 5. And this is the syntax for 9 a.m. on Friday. So I'll take that with me and I'll paste it in as my cron trigger there. So what's going to happen? So at 9 a.m., I want to find all of the records that are available for employees who are starting next week. So I'm going to do that with an action called query rows and save. Now the table I want to query is our new hire table. And the filter I want to have is they start after right now. Okay, so that start date is greater than, more than or equal to, a binding of right now. And right now can be done with our date helper. So that will just get me today's date right now. Now, this is running at 9 a.m. in the morning on a Friday. So I want to say, look, can you make sure that this person starts after now, but before the end of next Friday? And I think the easiest way to do that is to add on 8 days to right now. So I'll say the start date should be less than or equal to a binding. I'm going to use JavaScript for that. So instead of a binding, I'll go to JavaScript and I'll say const next week, new date object. So at the moment, that's right now. So I'll do next week dot set date to be, well, next week dot get date, and I'll just add on 8 and then I'll return next week. I'll save that and I will save that and I will test. So as I test that, I can see that there's one record that meets our criteria, admin at budibase.com. So let me just go check. Admin at budibase.com. That's this one. Meet our criteria the 2nd of October. So based on where I am today, which is the 20th of September, that is next week. So I can check if I move that record to be the 9th of October and retest this, I should have no records in my rows. Brill. And if I move that back again to be the 2nd of October, I move a second record to be the 2nd of October, then I should now have 2 when I test this. 1 and 2. Awesome. Okay, so we're correctly getting records from next week. And then what I want to do is I want to loop over everything that's in that rows array. It might be an empty array or it might have multiple elements, but I'm going to loop over it. So I'll do this plus, and I'll send an email. And I'll add looping. I want to loop over an array, and the array is from step 1 outputs called rows, and we'll save. So now I want to get the current item that we're looping over. And there's a binding for that just called current item. So loop.currentItem. And I want to email the manager, and I want to do the current item for the IT lead and current item for the HR lead and the current item for the buddy. So those are those 4 email addresses. I'm going to send it from onboarding@budibase.com. The email subject is that current item.name starts next week. So lots of exclamation marks maybe. And then our contents. And we'll just have a paragraph and we'll say, hi all, you are the onboarding team for current item.name. And they start next week. Please make sure you've got all the pre-start tasks complete and reply all to this email if there are any problems. And then maybe you'd include the list of things that needed to be doing. Maybe you'd have more information, whatever you want. And we'll just say, thanks. Let's save that. And then we'll test it. Timestamp. Okay, so query the rows. And then we've ran it 2 times for those 2 emails. Go to output. And seems to be fine. Check our email. I said, brilliant. Kevin Cunningham starts next week. Here's our email. Awesome. Ready to go. So far in our onboarding process, we have our IT manager creating the record, which is sending an email to the manager and the IT team. And the week before they arrive, we're emailing all of the people who are involved with the new colleagues onboarding. Now, what would also be useful is a screen that we can see all of the data without having to go to the data section. So let's add that. I go to design and I'll click this plus in the screens panel and I'll create a table screen. And the table I want to create a screen from is this new hire. So I'll confirm. Again, we have this role-based access. I'll click done. And when I preview this, you'll see I've got these columns. So I click on them. I'm able to see the data. This is all editable. I can do that for each of these and it's fine. It's great. Now, this table is a bit cluttered. So I'm going to go to click on the table and I'll click all columns. I'll add them all. I'll bring the name right to the top. Don't like it down at the bottom where it is at the moment. The start date and the manager. And actually the rest of those details I'm just going to leave out for now. I'll save. That looks a bit tidier now. So I click inside here. I can see all the details. Now I actually want the name right at the top here as well. I can see the name here, but the field is near the bottom. So if I scroll down, I can control that here. So bring the name up to the top and we want everything else to be editable there. So there we go. We've got full create, read and update functionality in a few clicks. So now our new hire has arrived in the business. And one of the jobs they're likely to do is to read through some onboarding documentation. Maybe the employee handbook, health and safety, fire escapes, all those things that you generally have to read and know you've read for legal reasons and when you start a new company. So I'm going to create a new screen. It's going to be a blank screen. I'm going to call it documents. And the way I'm going to look at these is by using a form. So I'm going to add a form and then it's going to be a multi-step form. So inside of this form, I'll call this my document form. I'm going to add a step. And the form step is going to have the document that I want to have someone review. I'll use an embed block for that. So I'll hit the lightning bolt and I'm going to use the object tag. I'll do the data, which is going to be the link to my PDF. And I'll give it a type of application PDF. I'll give it a width of 100 and height of 100. Inside of here, I'll put a paragraph tag because if the object gets properly served and embedded, then that's fine. But if it doesn't, whatever's inside here will be the fallback and say, couldn't embed the PDF, read it here. And I'll put an href, add in that text again, health and safety. Close the A tag, close the paragraph tag, and then close the object tag. Let's save that. And we have our PDF, embed it in here. And if I preview that, okay, so we've got our PDF. Now below this, I'm going to add a paragraph. I'm going to say, click the button below to confirm you have read this document. So then we should add a button and we'll say confirm. And on click, all we're going to get that to do is increment the form step. So change form step to next step in this document form. So then we'll duplicate step 1. This is going to be step 2. And inside of step 2, we're going to have a new embed. And this is going to be, say, our fire exits. Okay, so I'll change this embed. Change the link here. And the link here. And this is our fire policy. Save, fire policy, click the button to confirm you've read the document, confirm, that'll increment it. And then when we've finally finished, we'll add a final step. And this is just going to be, we're all done. So I'm going to add a button. So we'll have a headline, we'll say all finished, and we'll have a button, confirm you've read it all. Okay, so let's maybe put a paragraph in the middle there. Container, our button inside of our container, and then add a little paragraph above that. Thanks for reading all those documents. Confirm you've done it. Okay. So when we click this button, what I want to happen is this checkbox, document read complete, I want to get checked. And there are a couple of different ways I could do that. I could make this whole thing a document form update for that particular form. So to do it that way, I would do no actions. I'll do a save row, document form table, new hire. But I need to get the ID. So the way to get the ID would be to search by the user's email address. And it can make the structure here get a bit more complicated. So what I'm going to do instead is use an automation. So I'll send automation, add an automation, which is just going to be update document read. This is going to be a app action. So I'll save it and we'll have a field and it'll be an email. So when I have the email, I want to query the rows, new hire, where the email equals the binding of the fields, specifically the one that we've just created called email. So it's finish and test that. So if I do test that to begin with, email's blank, emailing everyone. But if instead I just did say admin@budibase.com and test that, I'm just getting that single record, admin@budibase.com. Brill. So what I'll do now is I will update a row and I want to loop over, again, everything from my step one outputs rows. And I want to keep everything else the same, but update that document read. So choose the table, new hire. I want to make sure that's checked as true. But I also don't want to change anything else. So what I've got to do is I've got to go through each of these bindings and I've got to set those. So I'll need to do loop outputs current item dot email for this one. I'll need to do that for each of the fields. So I'll go through and do that now. And for the row ID, it's going to be current item dot underscore ID. So now if I finish and test the automation, I test this, all seem to have worked fine. This checkbox has been checked. Let me uncheck it and then run the automation again with that email, and it has been checked. But what I want to do instead is in the design tab, when I press this button, I want it to happen. Click this button, on click, I want to trigger an automation, specifically the update document read. And for the field email, it's going to be the current user's email. I'm going to save that and save. So I'll publish my application and I'll view it here. Go to my documents. Now it didn't render, so I could read this document and then I can click confirm. This one didn't render, so I can click confirm. So I've got that fallback, which is great. All finished. Thanks for reading all those documents. Click below to confirm you're done. Confirm you've read it all. Automation triggered. And now when I go back to my data, we can see that that's been checked. So we have started to build our onboarding process with Budibase. We've got emails sent out at key points during the process. We're collecting data, we're sharing information, and we're centralizing it in one place, in a data store that you control with a UI that's easy to configure and set up to be just the way that you need it for your processes and your team. Hopefully that's given you some ideas for how you can automate and centralize your process. Comment below if there are any other questions that you have. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next video when we try to build internal tools using Budibase. Thanks. Bye.